Hey everybody, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we're doing something a little different, a pop quiz all about the incredible world of life cycles. So get ready to put your thinking caps on. Yeah, we are going to dive into the amazing, sometimes weird, ways that plants and animals grow and change. But hang on, before we jump in, let's go over the rules of the game. Okay, so the rules are super simple. I'm going to ask a question, you get a second to think about it in your head, and then boom! I'll pop the answer up, and we'll talk about it, maybe with a cool fact thrown in. The whole point here is just to learn something new and have some fun. Sound good? All right, let's do this. All right, let's kick things off with round one, and we're calling this one Plant Power. And you know we have to start with the biggest question of all, what in the world is a life cycle anyway? So the answer is, a life cycle is basically the steps that a living thing goes through, and, this is the key part, it happens in a specific order and repeats over and over again. And what's so cool is that this isn't just for, plants or butterflies. This is the fundamental pattern for every single living thing on Earth. That includes you. Okay, next question. Why do living things even need to reproduce? I mean, what's the big deal? Well, the answer is simple, but it's huge. If a species stops making new ones, eventually, it's gone, extinct. Reproduction is literally the only way to pass life on and keep that whole cycle going. Okay, so let's zoom right in on plants for a minute. When does their life cycle officially kick off? It all starts with this awesome process called germination. And just look at this. This is that magical moment when a seed soaks up some water, kind of wakes up, and pushes its very first tiny little root down into the soil. So cool. All right, so you've got this tiny little plant that's just broken free from its seed. What's it called? It is a seedling. Yep, it's not a seed anymore, but it's not quite a full-grown plant either. It's in that super cute in-between stage, just soaking up the sun and getting ready for a major growth spurt. Now, to make new seeds, plants can't do it all on their own. They need some help. So what exactly is pollination? Well, it's that absolutely critical step where pollen gets moved from one flower to another. And it's total teamwork. You've got bees, birds, butterflies, or sometimes just the wind doing all the hard work. So right after that pollen gets delivered, the next step is fertilization. And what's that, you ask? Well, this is the moment. It's when the pollen actually joins up with the female part of the flower. This is the spark that creates the brand new seeds, the ones that carry the blueprint for the entire next generation. Okay, we know pollinators like bees are super important, but how do flowers even get them to show up? How do they grab their attention? The answer is with their petals. Those bright, flashy colors and sweet smells, they're basically a giant colorful billboard that says, hey, over here, good stuff inside. It's nature's own advertising campaign. All right, last question for our plant power round. Which part of the flower is like a little safe house for the seeds and then turns into something we might want to eat? That would be the ovary. Yep, after fertilization, the ovary swells up to protect those precious seeds inside, and it grows into a delicious apple, or a berry, or any of the fruits we love. You all did an amazing job on round one. Now, get ready to switch gears. Let's move on to round two, the animal kingdom. And you'll see, some of the big ideas are the same, but wow, do animals have some different ways of doing things. Okay, first up for the animal round. For a new animal, an embryo, to even start developing, what has to happen first? Does this sound familiar from the plant round? It's fertilization. That's right, it's that same essential spark, that moment when male and female cells combine to kick off a brand new life. But here's where it gets interesting. Animals have a couple of different ways to get this done. So what is internal fertilization? Well, the name kind of gives it away. This is when the male puts sperm directly inside the female's body. You see this in mammals like us and in birds. It's a method that offers a whole lot of protection for that new life. Okay, so if that's internal, what do you think external fertilization is? You got it. This is when the whole process happens outside the body. Basically, the female lays her eggs, and then the male comes along and spreads sperm over them. This is super common for animals who live in the water, like frogs and fish. And this is a really great way to see the difference between the two strategies. With internal fertilization, you usually get fewer babies, but each one gets way more protection. On the flip side, with external fertilization, you often get tons and tons of eggs, but they're much more on their own, with less protection. See? Two totally different game plans, but they both aim for the same thing, making sure the species survives. All right, let's zoom in on mammals for a sec. That's us. Where does a mammal's embryo grow and develop? The answer is safely tucked away inside the mother's body. This time, which we call pregnancy, provides the ultimate VIP protection for the developing baby. But hang on, what about birds? Or reptiles, like turtles and snakes? Where do their babies develop? They grow inside a protective egg. That hard shell? It's not just there to look nice. It's like a personal suit of armor, keeping the embryo safe and sound from the big, scary world while it grows up. Speaking of protecting the young, let's talk about parents for a minute. Take a lioness. How does she care for her little cub? Oh man, she does so much. Because she's a mammal, she feeds it milk. She also snuggles with it to keep it warm and fiercely protects it from danger. And maybe most important of all, she teaches it everything it needs to know to survive and hunt. Now that is some serious parenting. But then you have the complete opposite. What about animals that, well, don't take care of their young at all? Is that bad parenting? No. It's just a different survival strategy. Animals like sea turtles, for example, will find a safe, sandy spot to lay their eggs, and then they just leave. From the very second they hatch, those little baby turtles are 100% on their own. And that's a wrap on our quiz. You guys did an awesome job. You know, all of those questions we just went through, from the tiniest seed to the biggest lion, they were all pointing to a few really big, really important ideas about how life on our planet works. So let's just quickly recap what we've learned. So what are the big takeaways? First, we learned that all life moves in these repeating cycles. Second, that reproduction isn't just an option, it's absolutely necessary for survival. We also saw all the clever strategies that plants and animals have for creating and protecting their young. And finally, we saw that in the animal kingdom, there's more than one way to be a great parent. Some are super protective, and some let their kids figure it out on their own. And that's all we have time for today, but I want to leave you with a final, fun question to think about. If a plant or an animal could actually design its own life cycle, what do you think the coolest or the absolute weirdest way to do it would be? Let your imagination go wild with that one. Thanks so much for playing along today, and we'll see you next time on The Explainer.